When is a coalition not a coalition? When they publicly undermine each other, that's when. And we've seen this not once, but at least twice this past week. Firstly, with Antánaiste Micheál Martin publicly undermining embattled Justice Minister Helen McEntee and her claims that 80% of asylum seekers are coming into Ireland from Northern Ireland, and secondly, with a public tweet battle between Fianna Fáil Senator Lisa Chambers and Green Party Senator Pauline O'Reilly over wind farms and Eamon Ryan. So we'll look at the Martin-McEntee issue first. I mean, it really doesn't send a good message, does it? And it certainly doesn't show a united front now, does it? The Minister for Justice says one thing, and a few days later, Antánaiste publicly cast doubt on what was said. And sure, Helen McEntee isn't exactly a reliable source, is she? I mean, if she told you the sky was blue, you'd probably check for yourself. She has been shown up badly in recent weeks, and a lack of correct facts and figures has become a staple of her time as minister, and the lack of public trust in her is plain to see. However, this was Antánaiste undermining her here. Is there any communication behind the scenes in government at this point? Can they not discuss things privately first? Why publicly cast doubt on her figures? I mean, look, I wouldn't exactly be surprised if she was wrong. I don't think any of us would. But the optics of the deputy leader of the country publicly questioning his cabinet colleague is very telling. Just what is going through the minds of Fianna Fáil right now? Well, we'll come back to this in a bit. Since the comments by Micheál Martin, Helen McEntee has had to defend her claim, saying that she absolutely stands over that figure of 80%, and went on to say that what we know now is that over 80% of people who are applying for asylum are applying first at the office, not through the airport, not through the ports. So the information from the office is that they're coming through the border. So now we have an undermined Minister for Justice forced to publicly defend herself because of a coalition colleague. If there is that level of distrust between the parties, then why haven't they done the decent thing and pulled the plug and called an election? Oh, that's right, the gravy train that they're all just clinging on to for as long as possible. They're happy to show off their dysfunctional coalition on a world stage, as this issue with the UK is garnering global attention, instead of admitting the coalition has no trust in each other anymore and calling time on this shambles. But it doesn't stop there, and this next issue might give us more insight into the question of what Fianna Fáil are thinking right now. So on Monday, 29th of April, Fianna Fáil's Lisa Chambers publicly bashed the Greens in the Irish Independent. She took aim at the Dublin-centric Eamon Ryan, claiming that he's getting Green wrong and that the relationship between the parties is untenable. I mean, talk about a crack in the coalition. The entire interview was an astonishing hit job on the failings of the Green Party, which, I mean, you all know by now how I feel about the Greens, so I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. But what made it astonishing was that it came from a Fianna Fáil senator, a member of a coalition partner of the Greens. Absolutely astonishing. And you might be thinking to yourself that she must have gone on a solo run here. I mean, she has form for it after her claim that despite campaigning for a yes in the referendums, that she actually voted no, a claim which could easily be seen as backtracking and an attempt to win back support. But here's the kicker. Her remarks are only up on the Fianna Fáil website. Senator Lisa Chambers calls for decisive break from Green Party to propel Western development, reads the headline on fiannafáil.ie. I mean, I don't know who is in charge of the Fianna Fáil website, but that piece being up on the Fianna Fáil website for all to see can really only be seen as a tacit endorsement of her views, right? A call for a decisive break from their coalition partners on their own website. Now, apparently, a spokesperson for Fianna Fáil said that party leader Micheál Martin does not agree with Ms Chambers' opinion, but yet it still remains on their website. Now, the Greens did not take this line down, with Senator Pauline O'Reilly taking aim at Chambers on Twitter in what devolved into a childish Twitter war about wind farm technology for all to see. Blame was laid at the doorstep of both Fianna Fáil Minister for Housing, Local Government and Heritage, Darragh O'Brien, and Green Party leader and Minister for the Environment, Climate, Communications and Transport, Eamon Ryan, and it went back and forth with childish retweeting for all to see. And if you're struggling to remember who Pauline O'Reilly is, she's the one from the intro to my video on the care referendum who thinks women and mothers are sexist. Oh, and she had this to say not too long ago either.
When you think about it, all law, all legislation is about the restriction of freedom. That's exactly what we're doing here, is we are restricting freedom, but we're doing it for the common good. You will see throughout our constitution, yes, you have rights, but they are restricted for the common good.
So yeah, not exactly dealing with the best and brightest here on either side of the argument, are we? We also saw the official Green Party Twitter account take aim at Chambers, and Eamon Ryan step in to rebut the comments from Chambers as well. So very much a public spat between two coalition partners. It's all a bit pathetic, isn't it? So the question really needs to be asked, just what on earth is going on with Fianna Fáil? Public flame wars with coalition colleagues on social media and undermining a sitting minister in your own cabinet for the world to see. Fianna Fáil don't seem to be very happy campers, do they? And it gets worse. At a Fianna Fáil parliamentary meeting on Wednesday 1st of May, Helen McEntee was labelled a disaster, and shots were also fired at Roderick O'Gorman of the Greens. A party meeting, I might add, that according to Lisa Chambers on The Tonight Show on Virgin Media, should have been private. Yet the comments were shared freely, it would seem. I mean, it's all getting a bit ridiculous, isn't it? Just what are Fianna Fáil thinking right now? Well, I'll hazard a guess. Local and European elections are looming, and for my money, it's fair to say that Fianna Fáil are a tad worried about their polling numbers. 14% in the latest poll, down 2 to a 2-year low. Not quite as low as their lowest ever of 10% in 2020, but you'd have to imagine it is a huge cause for concern, especially among the rank and file members. In my view, it would seem that Fianna Fáil are trying to distance themselves from what they perceive as the biggest causes of ire and consternation from the public at present: immigration and the two deeply unpopular non-Fianna Fáil ministers in charge of it, and green policies which are seeing considerable backlash from the electorate as they continually add to the cost of living woes. So, election mode really, but utterly pathetic in my view. Unless Fianna Fáil are now pinning all their hopes on forming a coalition with Sinn Féin as their only way back into power, you'd have to wonder at the intelligence of throwing your coalition partners under a bus. Especially so when it is ridiculously hypocritical of them to take aim at the likes of McEntee and O'Gorman, who are no doubt failures. You certainly won't hear me debating that one, but it is especially hypocritical when they have plenty of their own utter and despicable failures in their own ranks. Hello Dara, hello Stephen, hiding away and hoping we forget about yous, are ya? Absolutely useless, and just as useless and dangerous as McEntee and O'Gorman in my view. I feel it's desperation from Fianna Fáil at this stage. Unlike their coalition partners, they have no real identity anymore. We all know what the Greens and Fine Gael are about, but just who are Fianna Fáil anymore? What makes them anything more than a make-up-the-numbers party who are simply propping up the selfish and short-sighted ambition of their coalition partners? They are responsible for health and housing, two of the biggest issues facing the electorate, and they are failing spectacularly. So they haven't got any successes to point to differentiate themselves, so instead they publicly throw their partners under the bus. And that's why they won't call time on this shambles of a government, because they know they've had just as big a hand in the failures as their coalition partners. So instead they'll snipe and moan in a petty attempt to win back some core voters that have turned away from them. Utterly pathetic. So what do you think? Is there trouble in paradise? Was Micheál Martin right to publicly undermine Helen McEntee? Was Lisa Chambers right to go after the Greens? Or is it all just hypocritical bullshit designed to deflect away from their own failures? Will these cracks grow enough to cause the end of the coalition? Or will they all hang on until the bitter end to squeeze as much as they can from the gravy train? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe and hit that bell icon to be notified of new content. If you want to support the channel, you can buy me a coffee or a super thanks, which is greatly appreciated, and a huge thank you to those of you that already have. You can also follow me on Twitter. Until next time, slán go fóill.